Hey friends, it's good to see you today. It is February the 22nd, and the topic for today's lesson, or the key word in today's lesson, is the word blood. And I've shared a song with you that has just been a treasure to my heart. It's an older song, and many of you may have heard it. It's called "Oh the Blood." And one of my favorite choirs that I enjoy listening to and worshiping with is Prestonwood, and it's their song, or their rendition, I guess I should say, of the song. And I just wanted to share that with you today. And if you've heard it before, worship. If you haven't ever heard it before, take it in. But there's so many profound scriptural songs that are out there, and this is just one of those songs that everybody has to hear. And I love the way that Prestonwood Choir sings that. But I've never been a fan of blood and bloody things. And I've always been a little squeamish about injury and blood. But then God blessed me with a son. And there has been a lot of blood flow in our home because of injury with my son. And he's a grown young adult now, and he still has injuries. So I have gotten used to the idea of blood. I'm not quite as squeamish as I used to be, but it still unnerves me a little bit. And I have always had such a great respect and an appreciation for those who are in the medical field, and EMTs and police officers, first responders, who are there to assist when there's injury and there are tragic events, and that can handle all of that. So if you are a first responder, if you are a nurse, a doctor, a physician's assistant, somebody that cleans up after all of it, whatever your role is, thank you for what you do, because God has definitely equipped you in a very special way to be able to handle all of that. But I just felt like we needed to focus on that, and the whole idea of an exchange of life, one life for another life, and that one life is given for another life, an atonement for many lives. And the life is in the blood. They're forbidden to partake of any food that still has blood in it. And that's because there is life in blood, the bloodline. And that's proven because we need blood banks, because when we give blood, we are sharing the gift of what? We're sharing the gift of life. We're giving the gift of life. So what's stated here in the Levitical law is true here in modern day, and has been since the law was written. Life is really in the blood. When we give it, when we sacrifice it from ourselves to share with others, it proves that life is in the blood. And just to point out a few obvious things that the blood that was mentioned and said about the blood is that it had to be shed. Blood had to be shed in order to atone or satisfy an individual's sin. You couldn't just say, forgive me. There had to be a shedding of blood, and that person had to be there. That person had to put their hand on the head and had to actually make the cut. I mean, it's a whole thing, because that life was sacrificed to renew and refresh and atone in the life of the person who sinned. Blood was necessary for the purification process, that forgiveness, that satisfying the sin debt. And when there is forgiveness, there is purification. There is rightness set again with God. So blood has to be shed for the satisfaction of sin, for the purification process, for the beginning of that healing and that turning and repenting of that sin. That's that purification, that rightness with God. And blood satisfied the wrongdoing of someone, but it was in an exchange. One life for another's life. And let's fast forward to another life, to another altar called Golgotha or Calvary, where we had another perfect, without blemish sacrifice that was on the altar of the cross. We have one perfect, without blemish life being sacrificed for the sins of many. And his name was Jesus. I love the beautiful foretelling of the cross in this sacrifice of sin. It points to Jesus. And what I'm hoping that throughout the Old Testament, as you continue to read and study, that you will continue to see foretellings of Jesus, foretellings of sacrifice, foretellings of things that were going to happen in the New Testament, foretellings of Jesus. And just ask God to open your eyes to see those connections. And don't feel bad if you don't see them right now. It's okay. This is, for me, this is 10 years into reading. And I see new revelations every day. So don't feel like this is a little side note, just to somebody that might be feeling like they're not as spiritually gifted as someone else. Don't let that derail you. If you didn't see it, that's fine. That's why we have teachers. That's why we have conversations. But I'm particularly drawn to the moment where God, or where Jesus, the legs were not broken. Jesus' legs were not broken. And that's another prophecy that's fulfilled later, that's mentioned later, that is another foretelling of Jesus and Calvary. But a spear is put in his side, and the blood and water from his body are completely drained. And just as the sacrifice on the altar had to be completely drained of the blood of life, Jesus was completely drained of blood and of life through the piercing of his side. What a beautiful picture. So I love that it teaches me that Leviticus is actually very applicable to the New Testament believer. That it's just a beautiful portrait of it. And that one life satisfied the sin debt. It did all the things, that the blood that we mentioned before about the blood, all of those things. Jesus accomplished that. And I loved this thought in Leviticus 12. Let me make sure I'm reading my notes correctly. The Israelites were instructed not to consume blood from a sacrifice or any other animal because it could cause health issues. It could be a transferent of parasites, of disease. So they were not allowed to do that because there's still life there. There's parasitical life or disease there. So they were forbidden to do that. And this is what's so ironic, is the very thing that could cause loss of life, blood, partaking of that and taking that in, the very thing that could cause loss of life actually saved lives. Only God could make that work out, right? Only God. Enjoy the worship of Oh the Blood. I know you'll be blessed, and I love being able to worship with you. We'll see you tomorrow on Read Through the Word.